there is a very interesting development in the relations between the Europeans and the United States. Now, for a very long time, US President Donald Trump has been bullying European allies. If you do this, we'll put sanctions on you, we'll put tariffs on your goods, and then your economy is going to go down. And they keep doing it to everybody else, and they've been, frankly, bullying the entire European Union and European countries in general. Well, now it appears one of them is starting to stand up to them, and not surprisingly, it's the economic, well, what's considered to be the economic powerhouse of the European Union, Germany. Well, the United States has decided to pull 12,000 troops out of Germany and bring them home. As you may recall, many of these troops, the beginning of stationing troops in Germany began after World War II, when Germany lost the war, etc. Now, the Defense Secretary Mark Esper said the U.S. would pull out some 11,900 U.S. soldiers from Germany, as opposed to the initial plan, which was to pull out 9,500 troops. So they've decided to pull out more than they originally did. Now, why they're doing this is significant, because Germany has decided to go ahead with an LNG deal, that would be liquefied natural gas, with Russia, rather than many U.S.-owned and U.S.-backed companies in the region. Now, even U.S. President Donald Trump did speak on the issue. Trump tweeted about the issue, saying that Germany's move was unacceptable, while the U.S. was still owed supposedly 2% of NATO's funding. So they're still going on about this, how allegedly Germany owes the United States 2% of the funding for NATO. You know, that international program that was designed to give the U.S. a military strategic point over the Soviet Union. And Germany has to pay for that for some reason. Now, 6,400 U.S. troops would return home from Germany, while another 5,600 would simply be redeployed to other European countries, particularly Italy and Belgium. Now, despite the fact that all these soldiers have now left Germany, that still leaves another 24,000 strong in the German country. That's still a lot of soldiers occupying a country that you're not at war with. But I already went over why they were there, etc. Now, here's the deal. This is essentially going to trash relations between Berlin and the United States. And they were already very rocky to begin with, because the U.S. was trying to get them to go against Russia, etc. They have been adamantly, very adamant, about Berlin not signing on to the liquefied natural gas pipeline deal with Russia. And that's what they've decided to do. They decided to go ahead, and Germany has made its own free and fair decision of who it's going to get their energy resources from. And they have decided to take it from the enemy of the United States, Russia. And that's what's really behind all this. Now, other than this is going to lead to the deterioration of relations between Berlin and the United States, this is also going to significantly weaken NATO. Now, keep in mind, even though the whole point of NATO was to combat the Soviet Union, which no longer exists, Germany was a very strategic place because, you know, it was right next to the Soviet Union. And that's kind of why they still wanted to have it, as something to counter the regional influence of Russia. And it's right on the border, so it would be a perfect place to build up your forces to invade a country, should things actually come to that. Well, that was the point. Well, now they no longer have that staging point, because now they're pulling their troops out of it. I mean, they still technically have it, but they're weakening it. So this doesn't really harm Germany in any way, because it's not under threat from Russia. So the U.S. is really only undermining its own power to attack Russia. So you can kind of see where Trump's not really thinking this all the way through, and that is kind of a problem. Now, Berlin, of course, has been complaining that the United States is trying to bully Russia bully Berlin over its free right to choose who to get their energy from. I mean, this is not a military occupation, right? That's what the United States is saying. Well, if this is true, then Germany certainly does have the right to choose where they get their energy resources from. And if they want to take it from Russia, then by all means take it from Russia. The United States has no authority, no right to tell Germany where they can get it from. I mean, that would be violating their sovereignty as a country, you know. But here's what this is really about. It is really about the energy. If Berlin decides to go with Russia, which it is, they're going to pay about 25% less for natural gas. I mean, that's a good deal for customers. Their energy bills are going to go down, and Europe tends to pay very high energy bills as it is to begin with. So a 25% reduction, that's very significant and something that's definitely in the interests of the German people. You see, the problem with that is now they're not going to get it from U.S. and U.S.-backed companies. In other words, by the laws of a free and fair market, the United States is losing to Russia. Now, I know this would be no surprise that the United States would promote political and military hostility with a country over energy resources. But that's essentially what it is here. We're looking at arguments over markets. I mean, this is a straight up regular piece of monopoly capital, a part of imperialism, to demand access to markets in other countries. So think about it like this. The U.S. is saying, no, you have to, Germany, buy our LNG. And Russia says, we'll make you a deal. You can choose to buy it or not. One of these things is imperialism, and one of these is a free and fair choice. Now, it's really hard to say that Germany is that much of a victim of U.S. imperialism, considering that Germany is an imperialist power itself. But this would certainly be an aspect of imperialism, because the United States is using its military and economic power, saying to Germany who it has to purchase its fuel from, and that, oh, now NATO won't be there to save Germany from the... I don't know what it is that they thought that they were saving them from, because it's pretty clear Russia just wants to sell them gas and is not planning to invade them. So it's kind of that... you have to justify this kind of thing in the minds of the American people by saying, oh, they didn't pay their NATO bills. They didn't pay the bills to have somebody else occupy their country. I'm not even sure that that's even actually true. I'm not sure if they even paid it or not. I don't think it really matters. I mean, if you don't want them there, you don't want them there, so what does it matter? But that has to be the justification for it in the minds of, well, particularly Trump voters. Oh, Germany's ripping us off. That's why we're not going to be there anymore. That's why we're not going to do that. When really this is about the liquefied natural gas. I mean, there always has to be that pretext, like weapons of mass destruction, and was the justification for the Iraq invasion when, really it was about the oil. So you kind of see how that tends to be the political face of what is essentially imperialism. Economics. So, I mean, in my opinion, the U.S. pulling out of Germany is a good thing. The U.S. didn't really have, in my opinion, they didn't really have much of a right to be there. Now, if the Germans do want the U.S. to be there, then that's fine. That's their free and fair choice to make. But somehow I don't think that the actual masses of German people actually want the United States in their country. I think they really would prefer them to leave, which makes all of this a tremendously beneficial situation. But in the end, this is the U.S. trying to project its power onto another country and stop them from making a free and fair choice they would like, because they're not buying energy assets from the U.S. And that's bound up with the ongoing decline of the U.S. empire in general. And for me, it may be the last time that I ever get to mention the Ramstein army base.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.